Okay, it looks like we're all here. So I'd like to call to order the Monday, April 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. I'd like to have a roll call of members present. I'll begin with myself, Mark Parker,
William Rowinski,
Marla Butts.
Stuart Peasley.
okay, thank you. And we will need to officially appoint Stuart as being a full voting member for tonight. He is the alternate and we need him tonight for a quorum. So noted. Thank you, Stuart. Okay, action on minutes of the previous meeting. So any comments, corrections, questions on the minutes of the March 6th meeting?
Bill Rowinski. I didn't find anything that needed to be changed.
I didn't either. Marla Butts speaking. What I would ask though is that the application numbers be bolded so we can find them faster. Because when I'm going back through old minutes, a lot of times I'm looking for a specific application. And I think the Canberraries should probably mute their Zoom. Mute is down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. Okay.
Okay,
So
so
if Dottie would,
did Dottie do that for us? Yeah. Okay,
no, I'm just asking in the future that the application numbers be bolded so we can find them in the minutes easier.
right.
Other than that, I think these are acceptable. If you need a motion, I move to approve the minutes of March 6th, 2023 as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to approve the minutes as presented of the March 6th, 2023 Woodstock Inland Wetlands Watercourses minutes, agency minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay. Pending applications. So I don't see any listed here, so let's see. Is that right, Dan? So we don't have any
So I'm seeking clarification from you about that, the title of that agenda item. The business that we have tonight, the new business for April, is in the new application section. So I'm wondering how the commission has used that pending applications title for agenda items.
well, that would be if there were any.
Those are,
Go ahead, Marla. There.
I was just going to say, those were for applications that we didn't render a decision on. So for example, an application that's an inland wetlands permit specifically for work in wetlands and watercourses, that would be received at the next regularly scheduled meeting and then would be pending in the next agenda. So any application that wasn't completed would be in pending applications.
Okay, so as I read the March 6th meeting, we had new applications. So those new applications would be on this month's pending applications, right?
If a decision hadn't been rendered.
Right.
Right, so all of these, the first one, which was 650 English Neighborhood Road, that was to be processed as a wetlands agent approval, so that would not be on, assuming it has been issued, would not be on as a pending application. Then the timber harvest for Maureen Rosenfeld and the timber harvest for the Wyndham Land Trust, those were all approved, so there is no pending application for this meeting, because all applications were processed that were in the last meeting.
Thank you for the
Basically,
clarification.
It just means an open or unresolved application.
Correct.
So the new, under tonight's new applications, A and B have already been approved, right?
No,
No,
no, those were, are,
These are fresh, brand new timber harvest applications.
Oh, but they've been given the same number as last month's 03-2301 timber harvest for Maureen Rosenfeld. That was last month. And now we have 03-2301 as a new timber harvest, right?
there's a typo on the minutes then. Because an application can't be received, after the meeting is held. So
Oh,
22, so the first one, English neighborhood, that's okay, but the timber harvest should have said 02-2301.
okay, good. Let's back up on
And
that.
the other one should have said 02-2302. So there is an error. So can I
Yeah, let's make those corrections.
withdraw? Can I withdraw my motion? Accepting the applications and modify it, stating that it's accepted with the changes that new application item 4B be changed to 02-23-01 and 4C be changed to 02-2302. I would need
This is
a
this is
second
in
on
the-
that.
This is in the minutes, right?
Minutes of March 6th.
6, right? Okay,
I'll second that, Marla.
okay. Marla, could you repeat those corrections? I want to make sure I get them down.
So I'm amending my prior motion that was approved
Yep,
to change the date, the application numbers found in item 4B
that's 6B.
to,
Okay.
excuse me, 6B, I can't read.
6B.
6B to
Yep.
02-23-01 and 6C to 22-2302.
Wait a minute. C should be 02, 02-23.
It can't be. It can't have 201s.
Well,
So
no,
we'll have to
wait,
come
wait.
back to this.
There. Oh, yeah.
So it should
You
be,
can't,
B is 02-23-01,
Correct.
and
And
C
then-
should read 02-23-02.
Correct. Right. That's what, right.
but you cannot have two files with the same number. And the English 650 neighborhood road is 02-03-2301. So there's,
Hmm.
I have to check that and see how they were numbered. We'll
Oh,
have to come back to,
got it. Okay.
I
Yep.
suggest in this case, not approving these minutes, and we could make the approve 2 sets of minutes at the next meeting.
Gloria.
Once we ascertain the proper numbers for those previous applications.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So yeah, you run that down in this next month and represent it with the correct numbers next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So coming back to tonight's agenda. Roman numeral number 5, pending applications. We have none tonight. Right? There weren't any others.
Carry.
Okay, good. Okay. So we do have new applications that came in during the month of March. So Roman numeral 6, new applications, letter A, it was received on March 3rd, 23, and we gave it the number 01. So, okay, so 03-23-01 timber harvest, Eric Johnson for Noel Twigs. Okay. Very good. Now let's see, I gotta go to I gotta go to the website, the Woodstock website, and look at that timber harvest.
I believe we've had timber harvest on this site previously. This is just in the front area along the road right now. If I'm reading the information correctly.
I'm still trying to get my link to the town website here.
Just of note is that looks like this is not our form also.
Okay,
It
now
is
I see
not.
it. Yeah, is this the old form?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's your pleasure? Do you want to just go with it and, with the way it is, or do you want to have them resubmitted on the new form?
I don't have any problem with what they're proposing. It's just cleaning out white pines along the road for, does it say? Promote mixed hardwood establishment and growth health.
And there's no wetlands in or near the harvest area. So this may not actually require any approval by us because they're not clear cutting. If they were clear cutting in the upland review area, then it would be subject. So if they're not cutting anything in the wetlands, they're not crossing any water courses. It says that they have no new roads, no skid roads. So it doesn't look like we would have jurisdiction.
Yeah, the map with the yellow on it just shows right along Route 169.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are a lot of pines in that area. I believe previously they harvested in the back, further back. But I agree that there's no wetland impact.
No Yeah, so there's no regulated activity, so there's no requirement. So I think we just notify him, we don't identify any regulated activities as shown on his application, but in the future, please use the correct form
Right.
that's found on the website. Do you need a motion for that?
Yes.
Then I would move that Eric Johnson, the forest practitioner who filed this notification of timber harvest, be notified that the Woodstock Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency has no jurisdiction, and therefore no approval is required. And in the future, please file the correct application form for timber harvest.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski, to note that this particular timber harvest application is not in a wetlands and therefore, or in the upland in the 100-foot buffer, etc. Therefore, it is not under our jurisdiction. But then in the future, they should use the new notification of timber harvest form on the town website. I'll just, and so that was moved by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski. So just further comments or discussion. I'm wondering if Eric Johnson works for Hull Forest Products, because I think Hull Forest Products is considered near Pomfret Center, but anyway, if he got it from Hull Forest Products, then we should notify all the foresters in the area that we're using a new form and it's on the town website.
I don't believe he was Hull Forest Products because he doesn't have an email address for Hull Forest Products.
Oh,
and
right,
They are
okay.
pretty particular.
Okay, all right, very
They s-
good, okay. Dan, what do you think, Dan? Do you think, would it be too much for you to, if we can pull up while you're, in the next couple of weeks, pull up, all the foresters that you might have an email address for and just notify them that we do have a new form on the town website, just to let them know?
I think we've got an ample supply of past timber harvest applications. I can set Tracy on that task to kind of see what the emails are and help her draft a form to send out to all of them, a letter to send out to all of them regarding the new form.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah. All right, thank you.
Alternatively, I would suggest that any timber harvest that comes into the office with using this old form, that it be returned back to the applicant to submit it on the correct form. They'll figure it out pretty quick
Okay.
to submit the right one.
Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved. All right, thank you. Okay, now how about this second one here? Let's see. Let me go back. 03-2302. That looks like it is on the new one. Right, or no?
Mhm. Yes, it is the new one.
Okay, good, all right. So this is Justin Sherman, forest practitioner.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Does any of the members have any questions?
Yeah, it says on the application form that there's gonna be a temporary bridge.
Yeah, there's one
Um,
intermittent stream that we're gonna have to cross, so we're gonna use the bridge mats to get across that. So we don't disturb the bank.
Okay,
Um,
so your
oh,
timing of your
oh,
harvest.
but we're gonna also use slash, which is, the brush and everything
Mhm.
before the bridge to make our approach a little easier. And we're thinking sometime in June, which will be dry. And if it's not, we'll stay off until it dries out.
Yeah, my guess is that the way our storms have been coming, we could have, June
Oh.
is still, the water table is still fairly high.
Yeah,
It's not until you get closer to end of July and August when it's really low, but
no, it's just an intermittent stream. It's not a
Okay.
year round.
Yep. And is there any harvesting in the wetlands themselves?
No, there is not.
Didn't see any, yeah, it was, yeah, quick.
It's a pretty defined area, the wetland area.
Yeah, it looks like it from the aerial photography you've got here.
Yes, that and even the topo map. There's a couple high ridges in that area.
The topo map didn't come out so well. I didn't see topo. That's the one with the yellow? Yeah,
yeah.
That's what page? That's page 2 of 3. And I don't see. That can't be 2 of 3. That's not right.
I was actually
Yeah,
looking at
there's it's the first map after your form. I think that's the one that has the topos on it. Yeah, you
yes, it
can't
is.
read
It's
them.
highlighted in yellow. No, so where the
Yeah.
stream is, if you went to the southwest corner of the lot off of Rossin Road.
Yep.
and into the
Yep.
first corner and then down that it says 640, but that's kind of where this channel runs.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could kind of see that. Okay.
We're gonna put down rocks. It's the landing area is gonna be in a field above it, and we're gonna put down rocks for the trucks, so there's not dirt carried on the road as well.
Okay, great. I just moved myself out. Mark, I move to approve application 03-23-02 for timber harvest at 103 Rawson Road for Justin Sherman, by Justin Sherman for the Creamer family.
Second by Bill Rowinsky.
Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve application 03-23-02 timber harvest, 103 Rawson Road. Justin Sherman for the Kremer family. Any further discussion, questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Okay. Roman numeral 6, letter C. Application 03-23-03, new single-family home, lot 43C, Bighorn Lane. Linda Cambareri. Did I get that right? Sorry if I butchered it up, Linda.
It's very easy to butcher. Good evening, everyone.
So do any of the commission members have any questions of Linda?
I don't have.
No,
any
but I have
questions.
a,
Okay, go ahead, Marla.
I was gonna say, based upon the information that she supplied, the original application, this is a repeat of an exact same thing, correct, Linda, of what you
Yeah.
had in 2014?
Mhm.
Okay, and so on April 7th, 2014, the commission granted your your request, and it just said that there would be that the wetlands agent would issue it. So let's say that would have 5 years. So 5 years would take it to April 7th, 2019. And there were statutes changes made to the timing for the wetlands permits and approvals that extended them because of the downturn. First, it was because of the downturn in 2009, and then it was because of COVID. So they kept extending the dates that permits could be good for. And I'm not sure. I think this one falls into, it may not have expired. It may
We
still
did
be a valid
the research
permit.
on it and it just missed the time window. Its expiration in 2019 made it ineligible for the 2020 permits that were extended.
Mhm.
Okay. So they would have had from the 2011 Public Act, it granted for those that had been approved prior, but not the ones that have been approved forward.
Mhm.
All right, so it just barely missed it then.
Yes.
No. Yeah, okay. Well, I took a look at the past minutes and if it's exactly the same thing, then I think this should be, do you have NDDHs? Did you have to go back to Northeast District Department of Health to get any approvals from them, reapprovals?
I believe we do. I have the application here. I've not sent it in yet. So I do need to send that to
Okay.
them.
Mark, I would have no objection to Dan processing this as a wetlands agent approval as soon as he receives NDDH's approval, but not before. So I would move that the application 03-23-03 be processed as a wetlands agent approval on the condition that the design approval from the Northeast District Department of Health is received before any such approval.
A second.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to process this application as a wetlands agent approval with conditions of pending NDDH approval. And it's as Marla expressed, so trust that
It's the
Dottie,
design approval.
the design approval. Dottie, when she listens to this recording, will get the wording down. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion?
Do you have a question?
Yeah, just about this, the silt fence. There were some trees right on the edge of the water. And how do we, I mean, we can't put it into the water and everything. Do we go up a little bit higher and just take those three sections out?
I would suggest that you use wattles, not silt fencing.
Do what again?
Silt fencing, wattles, they are, they look like long sausages with,
Mhm.
they're a netting, a
Okay.
round netting with hay in it. You can get it at some of the landscaping companies. I think there's a place up in Dudley that gets it. The
Mhm.
nice
Okay.
part about those is they can be put in without trenching, without cutting tree roots or hitting stones.
Okay,
It comes on a big roll. It's a little more expensive,
Yep.
but it's per linear foot to
Mhm.
purchase. But it's actually easier to work with, and you can put them in, you can take them out. When you're done, usually you have to stake them, put a couple of stakes in until they get wet. Once they get wet, they tend not to move very much. And then
I
to
see.
remove
Okay.
them, you just slice them with a knife, and the netting falls off, and you can either pull the netting away and spread out the hay, or you can just remove it altogether. But
Mhm.
it's much easier to work with than silt fences
Okay,
or hay
So once
bales,
we move
check
those,
dams.
once we move those stumps, we turn around and lay that right in.
You should not move the stumps.
You should be able to put that in even without, before you remove the stumps, but
Mhm.
if you're removing it all in the same, yeah, if you're removing it all in the same day, you want to put that to the outside of the edge of disturbance. So
Mhm.
wherever the edge of disturbance is, that's where you want to put those.
Okay,
Okay,
we're
Alright.
good.
okay, no other
Alright.
questions?
Mm-mm.
No, okay. No other questions?
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
I
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Dan.
Okay, Roman numeral number 6 under new applications. Letter D. Application 03-24-04, in-ground swimming pool at 487 Route 198. Vernon Pools for the Audette family. Okay.
So they're not here to speak to this. Oh. Do,
Yeah, I didn't find the file. It's not in there.
so there's a folder online on the Zoom documents, and that folder for this application, that folder is empty for some
Mhm.
strange circumstance. This application here, it's a large property, but they're limited in to where they could put this pool. I think we're gonna have to pick it up later with the materials in front of us. But there was 2 residences on this property. And if they put this pool anywhere else but in the upland, it would be basically on top of the other house, and they didn't want that circumstance.
So is this just in the upland review area?
I wouldn't bet with 100% certainty on it without it in front of me. Kind
Okay,
of
so do you recall if they had the wetlands, had they been flagged and delineated? Or was it just a guess where the wetlands were?
I mean, it was last week at least since I was able to look at this application. So I don't recall.
This
It's
is-
I think then
possible
we
that
should
members
just,
might have this in an email as an attachment.
Bill Rowinski, if the information from Google Maps is correct, this is a property across from the old Stoggy Hollow. And there's a pond there, Mill Pond, and some other wetlands there. So without knowing exactly where in relation to the wetlands it would go, there's not a whole lot we can do.
why don't we
Um,
table this then to next month?
That would
Because
be,
there's no reason, it's still kind of early
It's a-
to put an in-ground pool in.
Exactly. I'm sorry, the information didn't show up there. Usually it's a drag and drop and we confirm it and double check it and the something we're gonna have to talk to Savage about. We've had a few issues with OneDrive. And here's another. But I'll inform them that their application was tabled.
Mhm.
Okay, so yes, application 03-24-04 is being tabled to next month's meeting. Okay. Okay, Roman numeral 6, new applications, letter E. Application 03-23-05 Timber Harvest at 129 Old Turnpike Road, Hull Forest Products for Sandra Walsh. Okay, click on Timber Harvest applications and there's 2305. All right. And it looks like it's the new application form. All right. They did check off temporary wetlands crossing.
yes, because the landings are along Route 198 and they have to cross a brook. It looks like they got planned to cross two places. The landing splits to a Y and then go on either side.
Okay. Looks like we don't have anybody online representing this application, so
What is a patch cut? I'm looking at the drawing that's attached to it and it says patch cut.
patch cut.
I would assume it's like a small clear cut.
Okay,
I'd have to go dig out my silviculture manual that I have and see if there's a glossary in that for silviculture projects.
A definition is logging cuts too small to be considered clear cuts, but instead are considered a form of a selection cut.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
patch cut. Huh. All right. New trails. All right. ST, what's ST stand? Okay. All right. Trying to understand the way he's using it. House and yard. Stand 1, stand 2, stand 3. All right. Let's see what he says about those. Oh, he's saying that those patches are for wildlife habitat. So they would be, the patch outs are for wildlife.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it's gotta be. Well, in order for it to be wildlife, you want to have it as clear as possible so you can get secondary growth coming in, unless you're trying to do it for whippoorwills, which we'd want grasslands.
Yep.
Hmm. When are they gonna do it? They're gonna do it in the next 2 months. They're gonna be in and out. Looks like. Pretty intensive.
I want
We
to
don't
say,
have anybody from home.
no, I want to say that this might have been logged about 30 years ago,
Mhm.
because just north of that landing on the other side of the wall, I believe there was a landing there.
Hmm. Okay. And now, how is he crossing the water course? How did he say what is he using for crossing? Temporary wetlands crossing. Anti-tracking pad. There is no accordance with the. Well,
Portable-
I don't know what the NRCS management plan is, so,
Portable
Portable-
timber
oh, they're saying mats.
mats, portable timber mats will be,
Yep, and that's standard practice, so.
Yep.
I move to approve application 0323-05 timber harvest at 129 Old Turnpike Road by Whole Forest Products for Sandra Walsh.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
motion's been made by Marla Butts and seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve application 03-23-05 timber harvest, 129 Old Turnpike Road. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, abstained, so moved. All right. Oop. Okay. Administrative business, Roman numeral 7. Letter A, discussion of application for permit and fees. Permit fees. Okay.
So, Mark, I've been doing a lot of analysis for processing, developing new permit fees for the town of Thompson.
Yep.
And I'm getting substantial increases in what the cost would be. What I'd like to do is, I have a meeting with the Thompson Wetlands Commission on next Thursday, this coming Thursday, to talk about how they want to approach this. I'm going to suggest that I share that with Dan, whatever results comes out from the Wetlands Commission in Thompson, and I'll share with you guys what I'm finding the costs would be. And it's based on assuming an hourly rate for staff and how long it takes to review an application, different types of applications, what I would expect it would take to review them, and then coming up. So for example, just the administrative costs of processing an application, that includes the $60 the states get, the legal notice for when a decision is made, as well as the staff time for logging in, preparing the document for the meetings, or preparing the document once it's approved, if there's a document issued. That was coming up to $182 just for that. That doesn't include review of the site for the activities that are proposed. That's just the administrative stuff of logging things in and creating the file folder and drafting the legal notice that's going to have to go out, along with those other standard costs. So the standard costs already, the legal notices cost around $45. The state's fee is $60. So you're already at $105 without having done anything. So we have our fee of $95 for a, like a basic application for a single family home, that kind of thing. We're losing money. Town's losing money. So we really have to look at changing those, but I think it should be based, the fees are part of the regulations. So in order to change the fees, you have to change the regulations. So I think what we'd be looking at down the road is changing the regulations. So one of the things that I noticed was a problem is that uses permitted as of right and non-regulated uses are allowed in the statute as a decision of the commission. But because the statute doesn't say anything about upland review areas, that's a creature of the local regulations. And I think a lot of things that are wetlands agent approvals are actually maintenance and enjoyment of residential homes. If they're in the upland review area, so like the swimming pool that come in, if it's clear that it's in the upland review area and it's for the maintenance and enjoyment of residential home, that probably should be thought about going through either without a fee or with a minimal fee just to cover the costs of handling the paperwork, which could be
Administrative,
like
right,
25 or 50 bucks.
right.
Right. In those cases, it's not necessarily a decision that the state gets money for, and you don't have to publish a legal notice for, but you have to keep the records. You
Right.
have to keep what they said they wanted to do, and you have to create a file. So you might have some small fee to cover those administrative costs.
Right.
So those are the things that I've been thinking of, and that would make it a lot easier, I think, so that the commission only focuses on those activities that really warrant us to render decisions on, like
Right, so-
individual permits.
So when we're gonna need to make some revisions to our town regulations, and we can write that in, into the regulation that, an administrative fee for use permitted as of right applications or something like that.
When I was in Windsor
Right.
Locks, they moved in a similar way, and they called it essentially minor structures would be allowed to be reviewed by the agent, and that included pools, sheds, garages, those types of applications for the purposes of expediting minor applications, lowering the fee, and decreasing the amount of administrative effort that went into the processing. It reduced, maybe a meeting or two a year. But a lot of this work became much simpler to be accomplished by the agent review.
I believe
So
we,
that would apply for. Go ahead, Bill.
okay, Bill Rowinski, I believe that's process was used in the past, both by Tina and it's basically his name now.
Terry,
Yeah,
Terry.
because they used to give reports at the meetings of wetlands agent approvals. And I
But
believe,
those were actually processed as an application and they had to pay
Oh,
the
okay.
fee, the full fee. So
Okay.
I'm thinking of stuff where you have an existing residential home that those people shouldn't have to go through the application. Brand new homes, that's a little different because there's a lot of stuff involved, like getting the health department approvals and stuff like that. But for mom and pops that are just doing some minor things, they want to put a shed in their back. They got something from Cloder Farms and they want to put it in the upland review area and have to do some minor grading to get it in. Why should they have to go through an application process? That could be processed as a use permit as of right by the agent.
Enjoyment
But
of the
there's
home,
nothing. Yeah, there's nothing in the regulations that says the agent can do that right now. So once I figure out what the language is going to be in Thompson, then I know I can offer it up to you guys, to us, to use that.
The health district would still be involved in review. They're required to submit their approval prior to the issuance of zoning and building, and that would also be the case with any wetlands agent approval.
Yeah, so if they're putting in a swimming pool, they have to get a B100 approval for that?
Yep.
Yeah, and as long as, but that would be left up to the agent to decide, because it still could constitute maintenance and enjoyment of residential home. I'm trying to find a way to let the current homeowner that's doing some work in the upland review area not have to go through the payment. I want to encourage them to let us know what's going on. and not just go ahead and do it because they don't want to pay the fee and they're just gonna, do it and then ask for forgiveness later.
Well, Bill Rowinski, the only concern I have is going to be totally based on our trust and the experience of the wetlands agent.
Mhm.
Trying to think of where I saw this, or I saw the discussion, whether it was either Cackeywick or at the Bar Association seminar, that somebody was complaining that their agent was taking too many liberties with with granting permits. So, but we would be reviewing them formally anyways, and no matter which way you do it, there would still have to be some review process and oversight.
Stuart Peasley, just I have a thought that might help here. When we file for building permits, some municipalities have very strict classifications, and that could be the key word. And that strict doesn't have to apply, but classifications of what is the work entail. For example, if we're changing the use of a property, that would be a class 1 or a type 1 alteration. That's the most stringent and requires the most review. A type 2 is just an alteration, and type 3 would be and a type 2 is there's no change in the use. And the third one would be a minor alteration, which is what I think we're talking about. But those classifications help in the preparation for the application. Just automatically, people know what they're getting into and can prepare properly. So that may be an opportunity for us to sort of look at what the work application consists of. You know, if we're talking about upland review, or where there's actually, you know, like these timber applications where they're actually crossing and what that does. I don't know. Those are just my initial thoughts. Classification of work is kind of important to help define the process.
So yeah, Marla, if you could get that information, what you will learn at the Thompson meeting, and get it to Dan, and then you can present it to us at next month's meeting, and we can chew on this a little bit more.
Yeah, so the only difference might be is that the costs involved, the salaries, because the Excel spreadsheets that I've developed are based upon what I estimate the hourly rate is of the staff person doing the work. And that varies depending on from
Yep.
town to town. So we'd have to make it kind of just adjust it for what Woodstock has for its staffing, costs.
Yep.
And I haven't looked at any of the application forms. I've just kind of been distracted, sorry.
No problem. Uh, Okay, letter B, review of updated permit application. Do we,
The updated application form is actually in the 3/6/23 Zoom meeting documents.
all right, let me back out of this, yeah.
But I haven't been able to make alterations on that. I plan on reviewing the minutes to see if we made any suggestions toward it, but I think we were gonna kick it along to this meeting.
Let's see.
It's a very clean looking form.
Yep, it is. Now, do we have any kind of checklist to, like for the applicants so that they know what they might have to attach? Like, for example, let's say DEP reporting form, watershed aquifer protection. Okay. What about NDDH might be one that might be required. Application that requires, but that's not a statutory requirement. That's ours. Alternatives. Okay,
We
so
could
you're
do
still
a
doing it
simple
with,
checklist, cover sheet.
yeah. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't be part of the application. It would just be something to help the applicant make sure they got all the stuff, and they could submit it with the application saying, this is what I'm giving you.
Like, we have a similar type of checklist cover sheet for a bed and breakfast application, for example.
Mhm. That's what I'm thinking, because when you go to page 3 of the other information that may be requested from the agency, it talks about listing things as Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. There should be some place that says, these are the exhibits attached to this application, so that it makes it clear what has come in, not just what might be required.
I concur.
Yeah, because you've got the application form, and then you've got whatever attachments you have to have with it. And I don't know if that should be part of the application or not. The actual application, whether or not that should be like a checkbox or something like that.
There is
Instead
that
of just a
sorry.
listing.
There is that permitting guide that I put together a couple years ago on the EDC page.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just wondering whether or not for this particular form, whether or not there should be something very clearly identifying what is the application. It's the form, and it's whatever other attachments are required, whatever other exhibits are required, so that you know right up front. Because if something gets dislodged and missing and doesn't show up, it doesn't, you don't have it in the file. Was it really submitted, or was it just not submitted and you thought it was?
I even forget
It should be.
I put that together, but if you look at some of the things that are in that, if you go to the EDC page, there's a link on it, and you can go, but there's a checklist just exactly like you're talking about, but it's for the buildings.
Like page 7.
Yeah. So you could do something like that for wetlands, would be great.
This is Stu is referencing the economic development guide to the permitting process on the EDC town webpage.
And if you go to page 7, there's a checklist there. It says first you need approvals, and then you get what is involved in those approvals, and then who gives the permits. But in this case, we could simplify it. But I think that kind of thing is very handy for somebody who's just getting a starting guide. And it makes it easier for us too when they come prepared to a meeting.
Trying to see, where's page 7? 5, 6, 7. Dan, where were you? I'm not picking up page 7. What's marked as page 7 is not.
Huh.
They're numbered. What page number on the document?
Page
Is that
number
page-
5 or 6.
All right. Let me go back. Okay, you're talking about that long chart there. Yeah.
But I think we're looking specifically at our wetlands processes and our wetlands checklist application requirements.
So different types of applications might have different types of attachments. I don't know, I'd have to think about that. I mean, the structure's kind of nice, but it doesn't tell you what's actually in the application itself. This is saying, this is what you'll need. You'll need
Right.
these things, but it's not saying, this is what I'm giving you. That's what I want for what I think should be for the application form. You know, these are all, this is, you've got the form, I've got a set of site plans, 3 sheets.
Exactly.
I got,
Exactly.
yeah, and then
The
I've got.
exhibit should be referenced.
Right. And I don't know where that would fit in. I don't know how you would fit that in.
Well, these are just diagrammatic, you know, to get started, but more details would require a different format, of course.
Hmm. And this is does this application for a permit cover all aspects except for timber harvest? So would this cover for somebody requesting a declaratory ruling? Or would this just cover somebody seeking an individual permit for work in wetlands and watercourses or work in the upland review area? See, because there's many kinds of applications.
That would, man, that would be great to define. I don't know.
Can that be something that a checkbox in 3 or 4 different fields? Wetlands
Yep.
Because I think we should, instead of having 4 different forms, try to have one form where possible. I know that the timber harvest form, I think, should be an exclusive form in itself, but I'd prefer a checkbox than having 3 different types of wetlands forms. If we're
Right, I agree. But we should know what kind of form, what kind of application the person is applying for.
Hmm.
You know, is he actually applying for work in wetlands and watercourses, or is he just applying for work in the upland review area, which could be 100 feet or 125 feet if you're next to a water course? Or are they looking for a ruling that they don't need a permit? I think this form will actually work that way. I think you need a checkbox. I think you do need some checkboxes in the front as to what type of application are you applying, what kind of application are you applying for? Because to be honest with you, I don't necessarily think the Wetlands Commission needs to see the wetlands agent approval stuff all the time. But if we get a written agent report. Can we go after this next meeting? Can we put this off again?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yep. Let's do that. Okay. Citizens' comments. Looks like we've lost our citizens. Okay. Anything else that anyone would like to talk about right now? All right. I'll entertain.
Mark,
Go ahead.
just a comment. So, Dan was originally hired to do, Dan, you can interrupt me if you want, was assigned to do zoning enforcement as well as wetlands agent work when he got hired. And the town is now looking for a separate zoning agent, zoning enforcement officer. They're not getting much luck because I suspect they're not offering enough money, one, and it's a tough job. And you got to have some training. So Dan is more than willing to do the wetlands agent work at this point in time. But the zoning stuff is a little difficult with his other job in Thompson. So they're looking for a new zoning enforcement officer, and I don't know how they're gonna find one. Now, I know we lost Prop 46. It no longer exists, but I don't know what that's gonna do as far as budgeting goes. As to whether or not they're gonna be able to get anything more for town staffing, which has been really shy. We haven't had much luck in the past trying to convince the administration to do things. I just wanted to let you all know that, you know, there's changes coming down the road for us too.
So.
I haven't heard any,
Yeah, there is no game plan, but it's been discussed that the wetlands would be broken out from the current position. It's my understanding that there's only been one applicant for the zoning, part-time zoning position, and they didn't meet a minimum level of qualification. I have a feeling that I will probably linger in the zoning responsibilities at the full 20 hours a week past April 20th, which was the target date. Besides not wanting to do it, I've got no real good answer to shed those responsibilities without having, you know, other responsibilities coming my way. But eventually I hope to shed those zoning responsibilities in Woodstock. I like working more within the environment. I like to protect a lot of what we have for posterity, and it's contrary kind of to the work I'm doing in Thompson, where I'm looking for open space opportunities and trying to preserve what we have. But I can still function in that role, and I don't want to leave the town high and dry. But zoning is messy. There's always something contentious, and I've got so much stuff in my head already. And the regulations are a behemoth compared to how we operate with the other commissions. I really like what I'm doing in Thompson, and I don't want to take on more responsibilities in Woodstock to lose that the conservation work in Thompson.
Understood, Dan.
But we'll probably be having the same conversation next month.
Yep. Who's the
Mark, if
who's the new chairman of the zoning agency in Woodstock?
Dr. Gordon is still
Still? Oh, okay.
still, yeah.
Okay.
And Marty Niski is swapped chair with Suzanne Woodward for ZBA.
Okay.
Mark, have you heard anything about the budget? What's been going on with the budget? Because they're got to be right in the middle of it right now.
No, I haven't.
Bill, have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything. I think there's a meeting tomorrow night.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they address it. So, because the problem with the small towns is that if you don't offer enough money to make for somebody to make a living off of it, you're not going to get anybody, or whoever you get is not going to really be qualified and not going to do a good job for you. You get what you pay for.
Right.
So the town is right now, it's been in a somewhat of a development slump, but I'm seeing Thompson, as soon as they get their zoning regs, no, excuse me, their subdivision regs modified, which is going to happen in the next couple of months, you're going to see probably a significant increase in development in Thompson. And I can tell you, it will start to spill over into Woodstock. And if Woodstock doesn't get itself in order, its house in order now, then we're going to be in trouble down the road. And it's one thing being penny wise, but it's another thing being pound foolish. Mm.
Should write a letter to the editor and put it in the Villager.
Yep. Go to the press.
Yep. I've actually read some pretty good things in there, but it's whether or not it has any effect or not, I don't know. But this conversation's been going on for a long time, Marla. I just don't know. I don't know when people are gonna wake up, or I guess, I don't know. But the thing that's driving it is the economy of means, and what it takes is basically based on real estate value. So that's why we're going to see an increase in McMansion expansion, I call it, and that'll be more things coming in to the wetlands, of course. But yeah, there's a fine line between preservation and conservation. You can't argue the fact that things are going to change, and hopefully we can get in front of it and change it properly. But it's I think what's driving it is the economic value of the properties, a lot of it. But hopefully we can make a positive difference by speaking out.
Yep.
And that we have this conversation a lot in the Economic Development Commission, but it's really a challenge, because you're in a community that is more preservation in mind, but meanwhile change is going on.
Yep.
So we did a good thing with, and we're in the midst of doing a good thing with the Woodstock Academy, where we put together a design program for the videography students. And essentially it was, what do you think the town of Woodstock is going to look like in 20 years or 30 years? So we asked them to get out their crystal ball and make a projection of where they thought the trend would develop and what it would look like. And we got a very invigorated response. They were pretty excited about that, because they'd never been asked that kind of question. Oh, here's the steering wheel. Where do you want to take us? And in a few years, you'll be driving. So what's it going to look like? What's the road going to look like? And I haven't seen the results yet. I'm looking forward to that. I'll let you know when it comes through. But I know we've had some very, very intelligent discussions from the kids. They're not kids, young adults. And Woodstock is very unique. So how does that look like in the future, rather than just a development mentality? Interesting stuff.
Yep.
Mm.
Anyway, sorry to digress.
Well, I was in Israel 2 weeks ago.
Whoa.
And boy, we spoke at a Messianic Jewish congregational meeting, and in Israel you can't talk about Christianity because you could be arrested or deported for proselytizing. So what we did was we put on an American Culture Day, and I spoke on how my family loved to fish and hike and camp, and how my family inspired me to go into environmental work, And so that, and that we are so blessed in our area, the state of Connecticut and Massachusetts combined is about the size of Israel. And, and between the two states, well, just Connecticut alone, I believe there's over 3,000 or 4,000 stream miles in Connecticut. In all of Israel, there's 600 stream miles. Israel is a very dry country.
Yeah,
But I did say that we do share, America and Israel share a common love for having clean water. Israel, water is precious to them because they just don't have much of it. But in America, or at least in our part of America, we made the mistake of polluting so many of our waters, in the 1800s and early 1900s. And so now we're working really hard to bring back clean water and preserve our wetlands and our water courses. So I was able to talk a little bit about that. So it was a lot of fun, but boy, what a different world, that they're dealing with over there in terms of, housing and development and, protecting, certain areas. And they don't have many wetlands to, protect, but they are trying to, conserve, their building space so that what water lands they do have, they use for agriculture. So like the northern half of the country, there was a lot of green fields, a lot of orchards, a lot of vegetation. But once you get halfway down the country, down to Jerusalem and south, it's just like desert. I went to the Dead Sea, and our tour guide, as we came down, he hadn't been to the Dead Sea area in almost a year. He started gasping. He was like, "Oh my goodness, it's drying up." He said, "It has dried up so much since I saw it last." And I was like, "Well, yeah, it's happening all over the world." I told him here in America, the Great Salt Lake is drying up a lot, and there's others, but and so we talked a little bit about that, and but yeah, I went for a walk in the Dead Sea, and I had to wear flip-flops because what was used to be a sandy beach is now all humps and big chunks of crystals, salt crystals, and they could cut your feet. So I had to wear sandals to go down into the water.
wow.
It was amazing. It was awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah, what a point of view.
it made me appreciate more of the resources that we have in America. We're a very water-rich nation for the most part. At least here in the Northeast, we are.
Yeah,
In the east.
Yeah,
Don't go to the west,
Don't
where
go
they're
west,
arguing
yeah.
over the Yellowstone River, and
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of other places. And Colorado River drying
Yeah.
up because it's getting overtapped
Yeah.
for agriculture.
I'm just in awe of being out there. I took a lot of pictures, and now I'm kind of processing everything that I've learned. But it was a lot of fun. And I had 2 years of Russian when I was in high school. When I went to the Woodstock Academy, we had a teacher that taught Russian. So I took it for 2 years. So I had a little bit of knowledge of Russian, but I haven't used it in all of these years. The old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I'd had a semester of scientific Russian when I was in college. And Marla, we've had a few, Russian and Polish speaking people at the DEP. And so in the past, I would try to engage them and try to keep my Russian at least somewhat workable. So when I started my presentation, I started it out in Russian, speaking in Russian. And I asked our translator, he was translating everything we were saying in English into Russian for the benefit of because a lot of them were Ukrainian Jews that had left the Ukraine and Russia and come to Israel. So, their native language basically is Russian, not Hebrew. But anyway, so I went, Privyet, and, which means greetings in Russian, and Доброе утро, and Меня зовут Mark Anthony Parker, So I said, my name is Mark Anthony Parker. And then I said greetings from Woodstock, Connecticut, and said a few things. And then at the end of my presentation, I talked about how a lot of families in the cities in our country will send their children to summer camp in the summer, to be out in the out of doors and to play and to learn about nature and so forth. And then I said, I would like to sing for you a song that was written by a Jewish American comedian songwriter named Alan Sherman. And he wrote Camp Granada, which is hello, Mata, hello, Fada, here I am at Camp Granada. Have you guys heard? You've heard that, right?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Translated it into Russian, and I started out, Privyet Mama, Privyet Papa, Vat ya v lager, Granada, lager очень интересный, и moj poveselimся, если дождь перестанет, which means, and we'll have some fun when it stops raining. And I sang about 5 or 6 verses, and they were all laughing, and my interpreter was laughing, and he said they were laughing because you were really butchering the language up. But he said, but I had put the words up in Russian on a PowerPoint so that they could see what I was singing, and he said that was really good. They could see the words and understand what you were singing. But anyway, and then during the question and answer time, they were like, "When did you learn Russian? Where did you learn Russian?" So I had a lot of fun. It was great. So,
Well, you did it right between 2 meetings. Wow, that's pretty good.
right, yeah. And what was kind of interesting when I got back, this past week, I was clicking through on the online internet, and all of a sudden a Windows popped up that Congress is considering a new American Recreational and Outdoor Act or something, that's to kind of feed money into a lot of the private campgrounds that are around the national parks to try to enhance, camping and public access to this, camping and national parks and so forth. And I was like, look at that. I was just giving a presentation in Israel of how America loves their parks and, and lands. And here they were, with little did I know, they were considering a new Recreation and Outdoor Act. So anyway.
Well,
Sounds like a good
Mark,
time.
I move that it was good to hear about your story, but I think it's time to end this meeting.
Yes,
I move
yes.
to adjourn.
Yeah. Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by
Stuart Peasley.
Stuart Peasley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so moved. At 8:25 p.m.
that's the earliest we've closed in a while.
Yeah. And it would have been earlier if I hadn't gotten so long-winded. My apologies.
See you
Have a
next
good one,
month.
everybody.
See you
Aye.
later.
Thank
Have a
you,
good night.
Dan.
Yep, have a good
Thank
one.
you, Dottie.
Good night.
Night.